Welcome back to my channel. I'm AK Mulford, a full-time author and part-time chaos gremlin, here sharing with you behind-the-scenes author life and unhinged yet helpful writing advice. So today we're going to be talking about how to deal with bad reviews. If you're planning on selling more than a handful of books to people that you're related to, you're going to have to deal with bad reviews at some point in your publishing journey. And the more books you sell, the more bad reviews you will probably encounter at some point in your authoring life. Most of us authors are very sensitive little creatives. Our skin is about as thick as tissue paper. If you are one of the magical unicorn authors who doesn't mind seeing bad reviews or even enjoys seeing bad reviews, congratulations on winning the author lottery. But that is not most of us. Most of us really hate having bad reviews. They hurt our sensitive little souls, but they happen, and it's just part of this job. But for most of us, bad reviews really suck, and here's how I deal with them. First, a little reframe. Oftentimes, bad reviews are a sign of success. If you think about it, like if one person in every 100 people who buys and reads your books doesn't like it, that might not feel like a lot of bad reviews, but then if you're getting 200, 300, 10,000 reviews, that's going to feel like a lot of hate coming your way, because our brains love to hold on to the negative more than the positive. You might be scrolling past all these comments that are like, I love your book so much, this is my favorite book of the year, all of these wonderful things, and all you can focus on is the one person who was like, oh, I hated this book, or this was a 1-star book for me, or whatever they might say. So if your book is suddenly like taking off and getting a lot more attention, you're going to be getting a lot more bad reviews. It's just part of it. If it's proportionately still like an insignificant number percentage-wise, if you're looking at your rating, that's still wonderful. It means that your book is being discovered by a lot more people. Also, books that tend to be a little bit more polarizing, where people either love it or they hate it, tend to have more of a niche fandom than books where people are like, yeah, it was okay, 3 stars. I didn't feel anything about it. Like, better to write something where people are like, this author is my favorite author, or I don't like anything they write. Like, being in those fringes is quite a good space to be in. Making people feel something, anything about your writing, I think, in my opinion, is a better way to be. And another thing to keep in mind is that some bad reviews actually help drive people to the books. You see all the time people leaving 1-star reviews saying this book was too spicy or something, and then lots of people being like, ooh, good, excellent, I will buy this book because I'm looking for spicy. Reading is so subjective. What every single person wants is different, and there's no way as an author you can provide every single reader with the exact book they want. You've got to stay in your author voice, writing the books you want to write, and not worry about the fact that it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And one more thing to keep in mind and be heartened by is that the more books you write, the easier this becomes, because when it's your first book, you're like, this is my precious baby. This is the only book I've ever written, and I feel so emotionally attached to it, right? And so people hating your first book, or, you know, just even feeling meh about it, feels crappy. It feels terrible when it's your first book. But, you know, for me at this point, I've written 26 books. I don't feel as emotionally attached to people disliking a book, because it's like, I've got all these other books. Also, I have very actively focused on the people who love my books. And so it's easier to be like, well, some people don't like my books. There's very popular books out there that I don't like, you know, and it's just so personal. You think about, like, when you're reading it, each person who reads a book is conjuring a different image in their head. They're reading a different story because they're filtering it through the lens of all of their own personal experiences, all of the times they've seen certain words before, the images that are conjured by descriptions are different. And so every single person is reading a different book. And also it's affected by the time in their life that they're reading them. Are they reading your lighthearted, sweet book in a really tough time and it feels like disconnected for them? There's definitely books that I've started reading and I've gone, I should like this book. It has all the things that I like. Why don't I like it? And then I put it down and I pick it up 6 months later, and it turns out I really did like it. I was just having a tough time in my life, didn't like it in that moment. There's so many factors that influence why a book would be beloved or hated by any given person, right? So there's no way that you can objectively say this is a good book, this is a bad book. It's all just people's opinions. You're not wrong for loving something that somebody else doesn't like, and vice versa. A piece of advice that I tell authors often is that two people can read your book, one can love it, the other can hate it, and they're both right. And if you're always working on the next books, you're always having one book that is your precious baby that you have like a deep personal connection with. And then by the time it gets through the editing process, it kind of just exists as something for other people to read and have opinions on, in my opinion. It's not something I'm emotionally as attached to anymore. Good pep talk. Now, bad reviews, they're still gonna happen. How do we deal with them? 5 tips for dealing with bad reviews. Tip number 1, prevent them from happening unnecessarily. This is a big one, especially if you're an indie author, self-published author, and you're in charge of your cover, your blurbs, your metadata, all of your keywords, your categories, all of those things. If you have a book that is like put in a romance category and it's 2 people on the cover staring lovingly at each other, and then it turns out to be like a mystery or a thriller, people are gonna be pissed. People are gonna leave you 1-star reviews. If you tell people that certain tropes are in your book or certain things exist in your book, and then you don't deliver on those things within the pages of the book, people are going to be unhappy. Everything about the product of your book should be making promises that when your readers open the book, you deliver on. Publishing 101, make promises and deliver on them. Tip number 2, don't look at the bad reviews. I know, this really should be tip number 1. This is hopefully the most obvious thing. But bad reviews do nothing for you. They are not helpful. If that's your brand of sadism, great, like go for it. If you enjoy it, great. But you do not need to look at them. They are not for you. They are for other readers to tell each other what they think and share their opinions. It is not a place that you need to be in. You don't need to know. It's none of your business. It's not something that will help you in any way. In fact, it might just like create so many mental hurdles that you never show up at the keyboard again, like worst case scenario, or like takes you months and weeks to get back into your next book because of that one person saying that one thing. Or even worse, you see one person out of 5,000, right, who says, well, this very like specific thing about this book I didn't like, and then you start writing your next book to please that one person who didn't like that one little thing. Don't do that. It feels overinflated and overimportant in your mind, these little bad reviews. Don't write for the bad reviews. Write for the people who love what you're delivering. And if you see bad reviews, don't engage. They're not for you. You're not meant to be there. They're not leaving this review to hurt you. If they tag you in something and then give you a bad review, then by all means, you can call out those people if you want to. But for me, those people I just ignore and move on with my life. There are inevitably a few bad players who will always do like unnecessarily hurtful things just because they want to cause drama or they want to get attention. Don't look at it, don't engage, ignore. Ignorance is bliss. Tip number 3. You heard tip number 2 and you're still gonna look anyway. I know you're going to do this. Everybody does it. All new authors do it. Honestly, like it took me 3 or 4 books to stop doing this because we can't help ourselves. It feels like the mean girl is talking about you in class and you need to like know what she said, right? Like there's just some psychology that just is begging for us to go look and be tormented. Or you, for some reason, feel like you really do need to know if everybody didn't like something, some trope, something you've written. You're still new enough in the writing process that you don't know your author voice and you don't know your id list and the tropes that you deliver. And if that's the case, what I would recommend is getting an emotional bodyguard, as I call them, or a critique partner or buddy or writing friend. If you really need to know, which you don't, but I know you feel like you do still. If you're still in the phase where you feel like you need to know, get someone else to do it. Get someone else to go look at it for you and give you the useful points of the bad reviews. Like if there's any consistent pattern or consistent takeaway, have them look at it and give it to you. You don't need to be drowning in all of that negativity. It's going to make it really hard for you to keep writing. Tip number 4 for dealing with bad reviews. Writing books is a mind game. It's a mental exercise. And so if negativity is going to be pulling you down, you need things to lift you back up, right? Sometimes you can't avoid some of this negativity, especially if you're an author that's existing to some degree online on your own with all of your social platforms. You're going to get some things weighing down the negative bucket. It's just something that's going to happen. Are you doing anything to fill the positive bucket to weigh out those balances? Taking care of yourself emotionally so that you can show up and write is probably the most important thing you can do as an author. For me, as a neurodivergent person, I have my little dopamine menu of things that make me feel good and I enjoy doing. I enjoy going to the beach. I enjoy going for a walk in the sunshine. I enjoy sitting out on my balcony and looking at all the birds, and having a cup of tea and watching Dimension 20 and things like that. There's things that help me regulate and feel good again. Have those tools in your toolkit, have those things that you can go to, because sometimes bad reviews are unavoidable. You don't check Goodreads, you're not looking online, you're not Googling yourself for bad reviews. We've all done this. I know if you feel called out right now, but we've all done this. We've all searched for the pain and invited it into our lives at some point, and you will get better at it over time. But even if you haven't done all of those things, you might just be scrolling and see somebody's posted about your book and it shows up and they say something negative, or maybe they even say something that's glowingly positive with one little thing that they didn't like, and that can spiral your whole day. Reach for your toolkit, reach for the things that you find helpful to pull you back in. And in fact, I think anticipatorily putting things in the positivity bucket, making sure you're doing some good positive things for your mental health every day, some self-care to kind of counterbalance that just in the event that you might need it, is hugely valuable. Very quickly for me in my career, I found that the amount of attention I was getting was incredibly overwhelming. And so for me, I needed to very quickly pivot into very active, intentional self-care tactics so that I didn't completely fry out, because I'm not the sort of person that likes a lot of attention. I know I have a seemingly extroverted golden retriever sort of personality to a lot of people, but I'm wildly introverted, very sensitive, neurodivergent creative with rejection sensitivity nonetheless. This is a piece of advice I give often to authors as well, and that is be more in love with the act of writing than your book's reception out in the world. And I tell people that all the time, and I feel like it's something they need to come back to time and time again. At the end of the day, it's all about getting back to the keyboard, getting back to the story, getting back to the next book. And then the fifth and final tip is have a writing community of people you can talk to about your feelings. It is such a unique industry. There's not a lot of people who will get how it feels to have 10,000 people talking about you. It's really scary. It's really intense when you start to think that's too much attention and I don't know how to deal with that, and you kind of and so having writing friends, having a writing community, having people that you can connect to and say I don't know why, but I'm just having a tough day, or I saw this one thing and now I'm kind of in a negative headspace. Having friends, having writing community, hugely, hugely important to that. And if you don't have that yet, then this can be that space for you. I love being that person for other authors, and I know what it feels like. I deeply relate to all of those tough mental health days. So I will be your new writing buddy, and we can build a writing community together here as well. Having that community, so important, especially for sustainability and sticking around a long time in the writing world. So those are my 5 tips for dealing with bad reviews. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know some of your self-care tips and things you do to regulate on a negative day in the comments. I'm always looking for more things to add to my dopamine menu. I'll see you next time for more unhinged yet helpful writing advice. And happy writing, friends.